Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others keep struggling? It's not luck, it's habits. In this video, we'll uncover 7 habits millionaires share that you can start practicing today. These aren't overnight tricks or secret formulas, they're real, proven actions that build financial freedom step by step. From reading daily to living below your means, from smart investing to staying disciplined. Every habit shapes who you become. So if you've ever dreamed of breaking free from paycheck to paycheck, this video might just change how you see money forever. Part 1. They read and learn every day.
Have you ever wondered why some people seem to turn everything they touch into gold, while others, working just as hard, never quite get there? It's easy to say luck. But if you look closer, behind every so-called lucky millionaire, there's a quiet, consistent ritual, one that starts long before the money ever arrives. They read. Every single day. The world's most successful people share an obsession, not with money, not even with success itself, but with learning. If you walked into Warren Buffett's office right now, you might expect to see a man buried in spreadsheets. Instead, you'd find him surrounded by books. He spends about 80% of his day reading. Elon Musk taught himself rocket science from manuals and textbooks long before SpaceX ever launched. Oprah Winfrey built her empire through stories she first consumed through books that shaped how she saw the world. But why reading? Why does this simple habit appear again and again at the heart of so many millionaire stories? Because reading isn't about collecting information. It's about expanding awareness. Millionaires see the world not as it is, but as it could be. And that vision requires fuel, new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of connecting the dots. When most people finish school, they stop learning. When millionaires finish school, they just start. They treat the mind like a muscle, something that needs to be trained, challenged, stretched. Every new book, podcast, or course is like another rep in the mental gym. Take Sarah, for instance, a small-town accountant who used to think success meant working longer hours. Every day was the same. Wake up, rush to the office, crunch numbers, go home, repeat. Until one day, she picked up a book by Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Workweek. It wasn't the book itself that changed her life. It was the idea that life could be designed. That wealth wasn't just money, it was time, freedom, and purpose. That one book became 2, then 10, then 50. Within a year, Sarah started her own consulting business. Within 5, she was financially free. Her turning point didn't come from a lottery ticket or a secret investment strategy. It came from a single page that opened a new doorway in her mind. You see, the act of reading every day does something powerful. It compounds. 10 minutes a day doesn't seem like much. But over a year, that's the equivalent of reading over a dozen books. And each book adds another layer of understanding, another mental model to draw from when life gets messy. When a millionaire faces a problem, they don't panic. They pause, recall something they've read, and apply it. It's not intuition, it's accumulated wisdom disguised as instinct. But here's the secret most people miss. Millionaires don't just read anything. They read intentionally. They don't chase trending headlines or mindless clickbait. They focus on material that builds them. Biographies, finance, psychology, innovation, mindset. They seek what challenges their thinking, not what comforts it. Because growth doesn't happen inside your comfort zone. It happens right at the edge of it, in the pages that make you pause, reflect, maybe even disagree. There's also a deeper reason millionaires keep learning: humility. The more they know, the more they realize how much they don't. And that humility keeps them open to mentors, to feedback, to change. That's why they evolve while others stay stuck. They know yesterday's knowledge can't solve tomorrow's problems.
Think of it like this. If your mind were a map, each thing you learn adds new territory. The more you read, the more expansive your map becomes. And the wider your map, the more possible routes you can see, routes that others can't. That's how opportunities appear out of nowhere. They were always there. You just couldn't see them until your mind grew large enough to recognize them. Now, this doesn't mean millionaires are born curious or disciplined. Curiosity is a habit, and so is discipline. They built it one small step at a time. Maybe it started with a single podcast on their commute, then a few pages before bed. Then setting a goal, one book per month, then one per week. Over time, learning became part of who they are, not a chore, but a choice, a way of living. In the end, reading isn't about escaping reality. It's about understanding it better. It's about collecting stories, lessons, failures, and triumphs, and realizing that every successful person, no matter how untouchable they seem, once stood exactly where you are now. Uncertain, curious, searching for answers. The difference is they kept searching. And that search, quiet, persistent, unglamorous, is what built the life they have today. So the next time you see a millionaire, don't just look at what they own. Look at what they know. Because behind every financial empire is a library, digital or physical, filled with the thoughts that built it. And if you start reading today, page by page, lesson by lesson, you might just find that wealth isn't something you chase. It's something you grow into. They read and learn every day, not because they have to, but because they know the most valuable investment they'll ever make is in their own mind. Part 2. They live below their means. Here's a paradox most people never see coming. Millionaires don't look rich. They drive ordinary cars, live in modest homes, and sometimes they still clip coupons. Strange, isn't it? Because the world tells us the opposite, that wealth is the designer watch, the ocean view mansion, the life that screams success. But the truth is quieter. Real wealth doesn't make noise. Walk into the suburbs of Omaha, Nebraska, and you might find a gray brick house with an old Cadillac parked outside. No bodyguards, no gold gate. Inside lives Warren Buffett, one of the richest men alive. He bought that home in 1958 for $31,500, and he still lives there today. It's not about being cheap, it's about being free. Buffett once said, "If you buy things you don't need, soon you'll have to sell things you do need." Millionaires understand this better than anyone else because they've seen how quickly lifestyle inflation can trap you in a golden cage. You see, living below your means isn't about denial, it's about design. It's a conscious decision to make money work for you, not the other way around. Most people do the opposite. They earn more, so they spend more. The new paycheck means a new car. The promotion means a bigger apartment. And slowly, their comfort becomes their captivity. But millionaires, the quiet, long-game kind, resist that urge. They know every dollar not spent is a seed that, if planted wisely, grows into freedom later. There's a story about a man named Ronald Reed, a janitor from Vermont. He fixed cars, swept floors, and lived in a small house with no extravagance.
When he died in 2014, his neighbors were shocked. Ronald left behind over $8 million in assets. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't own a business. He just spent less than he earned, invested the difference, and let time do its quiet magic. It's almost boring, isn't it? No drama, no luck, just quiet discipline repeated for decades. But that's the point. Wealth grows in silence. There's a moment every future millionaire faces, a crossroads between impressing others and investing in themselves. Most people choose the first. They buy the car, the watch, the name brand life because they crave validation. It's not really about luxury, it's about being seen. But those who become truly wealthy, they choose differently. They redirect that desire to build instead of display. They spend on assets, not appearances. They seek growth, not glamour. It's not that they never enjoy life, they just delay gratification long enough to make it last forever. Think of it this way. Every dollar has potential energy. You can release it instantly for a fleeting dopamine hit, a shiny object that loses value the moment you buy it, or you can store that energy. Let it multiply quietly through investments, compounding into something far greater. Millionaires are masters at this exchange. They don't just ask, "Can I afford it?" They ask, "Is this the best use of my energy?" That question changes everything. There's a quiet confidence that comes with living below your means, because when you don't need to impress anyone, you become unstoppable. You can take risks others can't. Quit the job you hate. Start the project you love. Walk away from bad deals. Why? Because you're not trapped by your bills or your image. Freedom isn't about having more. It's about needing less. If you follow the trail of most self-made millionaires, you'll notice a pattern. Before they built wealth, they built restraint. They learned to separate wants from needs. They learned that security feels better than status. And they realized something radical. Money buys options, not identity. That's why they drive cars 5 years old, wear simple clothes, and rarely talk about money at all. Because for them, money isn't a mirror, it's a tool. Here's the irony. When you stop trying to look rich, you start creating the space to become rich. Because the dollars you don't spend become the capital that funds your dreams, the investment, the business, the freedom that changes everything. Living below your means is like building a runway. The longer it is, the farther you can fly. And yes, at first it's uncomfortable, saying no to things you can technically afford, watching friends buy what you choose to delay. It feels like missing out. But over time, that discomfort becomes power. Because every no today is a louder yes to tomorrow. And the quiet satisfaction of being debt-free, stress-free, and financially independent, that's a luxury no money can buy. In the end, millionaires live below their means not because they have to, but because they want to. They've seen both sides. They know what it's like to chase approval and what it's like to chase freedom. And once you've tasted freedom, luxury feels cheap. They live below their means not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Because wealth isn't what you show the world, it's what you quietly build when no one's watching.
Part 3. They invest early and consistently. If there was one secret every millionaire quietly shares, it's this: time is worth more than money. And the ones who truly win don't wait for someday to start investing. They begin early, they stay consistent, and they let time do what time does best: multiply. We've all heard the saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Wealth works the same way, except the tree here is your money, and compound interest is the sunlight that helps it grow. Most people wait until they have enough to start investing. Millionaires know that's backwards. They invest to have enough. Because wealth isn't built from sudden windfalls. It's built from small, repeated actions, done early and done often. Meet James. He wasn't born into money. At 22, he worked at a coffee shop, saving a few $100s each month. His friends laughed when he started investing. "What difference can $200 make?" they'd say. But James understood something most people never learn. Money has two superpowers: time and consistency. He didn't need to be rich to invest. He just needed to start. He automated small deposits every month, rain or shine. No skipping, no guessing, no chasing the next big thing. Fast forward 25 years. James wasn't a genius investor. He just let compounding do the heavy lifting. Those small, consistent contributions turned into nearly $1 million. Not because of luck, because of time. The math behind it is almost magical, and yet completely predictable. Imagine two people. Emma, who starts investing $300 a month at age 25 and stops at 35.
Liam, who waits until 35 to start and invests the same amount until 65. By retirement, Emma, who only invested for 10 years, ends up with more money than Liam, who invested for 30. Why? Because her money had time to grow on itself. That's the power of compounding. Your money earns interest, then that interest earns interest, and on it goes, like a snowball rolling down a hill, growing bigger with every turn. Millionaires treat compounding like a law of nature. They don't fight it, they flow with it. They understand that the earlier they start, the less they need to risk. They don't wait to feel ready, because readiness never comes, only time passes. So they start imperfectly. They learn along the way, and they trust the process more than their emotions. Here's what most people get wrong. They think investing is about predicting the market. It's not. It's about staying in it. The stock market has always rewarded patience over panic. Over 30 years, it's gone up, down, sideways, and still the long-term trend is up. Millionaires don't chase quick wins. They play the infinite game. They know that time in the market beats timing the market. They set their systems, automate their investments, and move on with their lives while their money quietly works in the background. Think about it. Your dollars are tiny employees. Everyone you invest starts working for you 24/7, even while you sleep. The earlier you hire them, the longer they work, and the more their offspring, dividends, interest, growth, join the team. That's how millionaires think. Not how can I spend this, but how can this dollar earn for me? It's not luck, it's leverage. Of course, it's not always easy. The market dips, news headlines scream, fear whispers, sell before you lose it all. But millionaires know better. They've learned to stay calm when everyone else is panicking because they understand that wealth isn't built in moments of comfort, it's built in moments of conviction. The greatest opportunities often appear when everyone else is running away. Consistency isn't glamorous. It's not dramatic. It doesn't go viral, but it works. And it's the single thread connecting every quiet millionaire story. They don't need perfect timing. They just need time. They show up, month after month, year after year, because they know success isn't a sprint. It's compound interest in human form. Small, steady actions that grow into something extraordinary. One of the most underrated advantages of starting early is peace. When you invest young, even small amounts, you buy yourself options later.
Options to work because you want to, not because you have to. Options to take risks, change careers, travel, or spend more time with family. Money invested early becomes time earned back later. And that's the real luxury. Not yachts or champagne, but freedom. When you zoom out far enough, every millionaire story looks the same. They start small, they stay consistent, and they let time do the rest. They don't treat investing as a gamble. They treat it as a promise to their future self. They invest early and consistently, not because they expect to get rich overnight, but because they understand that the slowest path is often the surest one.
Part 4. They build multiple streams of income. If your paycheck stopped tomorrow, how long could you stay afloat? For most people, the answer is not long. But for millionaires, it's different, because they've built something most of us never think about until it's too late: multiple streams of income. It's not just a financial strategy, it's a safety net, a foundation of freedom, and maybe the biggest reason they sleep better at night. Here's the truth. Relying on one paycheck is like balancing on one leg. It works until something shakes: a job loss, an illness, a recession. Millionaires understand this instability, so they do something quietly revolutionary. They diversify. They don't depend on one source of money. They build many. Some are big, some are small. But together, they form a system that keeps growing even when life doesn't go as planned. Take Lisa, for example. She started out as a high school teacher, barely making ends meet. After years of living paycheck to paycheck, she decided to try something new. Not a lottery ticket, not a miracle, just a small side hustle. She began writing short online courses about study habits and productivity. At first, it made her a few $100s a month, barely enough to notice, but she kept at it. One stream became two. She added an online tutoring business, then started investing her profits in dividend stocks. 10 years later, Lisa still teaches because she loves it. But now her side incomes earn more than her full-time salary. She didn't quit her job. She outgrew her dependency on it. Millionaires think of money like rivers. Each one flows differently, some fast, some slow, but together they feed the same ocean. Their streams might include investments, stocks, bonds, index funds, real estate, rental income, property appreciation, business ownership or royalties, digital assets, content, courses, online tools, passive income, dividends, interest, licensing. Not every stream starts big. Some begin as trickles, $10 here, $50 there. But millionaires know consistency turns trickles into rivers. Here's what sets them apart. They don't just chase income. They chase systems. They ask, how can this keep earning even when I stop working? It's a subtle shift from trading time for money to making money work without time. Because they know that true wealth isn't built by working harder. It's built by working smarter, once, and letting that work pay off forever. If you look closer, every millionaire has mastered a quiet formula: earn, save, invest, repeat. At first, all their income comes from effort, a job, a project, a business. But as they grow, more of their income comes from assets that earn while they rest. It's like building a team of invisible workers. You plant the seeds once, and over time, they start producing on their own. That's how they reach the point where their money makes money. And that's when life changes. But it's not just about security. It's about choice. When you have multiple streams of income, you stop making decisions out of fear. You can take creative risks, explore new ideas, walk away from what no longer serves you. You stop asking, can I afford this? And start asking,
Is this meaningful to me? That's the true power of diversification. Not more money, but more control over your time, your energy, and your future.
Now, this doesn't happen overnight. Millionaires build new income streams one layer at a time. They master the first before moving to the next. They experiment, they fail, they learn, and they keep adding patiently, knowing that each stream brings them closer to financial independence. It's not luck, it's design. One of the most common myths about multiple income streams is that it's only for the rich, but in reality, it's how they became rich. They didn't wait until they had millions to diversify, they diversified to build their millions. Even a small side hustle, a low-cost investment, or a skill shared online can become the foundation for something bigger. The point isn't size, it's momentum. Because once you start creating, the mindset shifts. You stop being a consumer, you start being a builder. There's another hidden benefit too. Each new income stream teaches you something new about money, about value, about yourself. It forces you to grow, to adapt, to think differently. Millionaires don't just collect assets, they collect skills. Every new venture, even the ones that fail, sharpens their instincts and widens their vision. And soon, they're not just earning more, they're becoming more. At the heart of it, multiple streams of income aren't about greed. They're about resilience. Because the world changes fast. Jobs disappear. Industries evolve. Economies shake. But when you've built your life on many foundations, you don't collapse. You adjust. That's what millionaires do. They don't predict the future. They prepare for it. They build multiple streams of income, not to show off, but to stay steady when the world gets uncertain. Because the more rivers that flow into your ocean, the calmer the tides of your life become.
Part 5. Learn from the successful. There's something strangely magnetic about being in the presence of people who have already walked the path you're trying to take. It's not about money or fame or the cars they drive. It's about how they think, how their minds seem to hum at a slightly different frequency. And maybe that's the real secret. Millionaires don't just surround themselves with wealth, they surround themselves with wisdom. There's an old saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Most people hear it, nod, and move on. But millionaires, they live by it. They understand that energy is contagious, optimism is contagious, and so is mediocrity. They know that who you talk to shapes what you talk about, and what you talk about slowly shapes who you become. Picture this. A young entrepreneur, broke but ambitious, walks into a networking event. Everyone there seems smarter, richer, more experienced. He feels out of place, until someone says something that will stay with him for life. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Just make sure you're in the right room. That line becomes a compass. He starts seeking out people who challenge him, not comfort him, who ask him better questions, not easier ones. And slowly, almost invisibly, his thinking begins to stretch. Because when you spend enough time around people who see further, you start to see further too. Science has a name for this: social contagion. The people closest to you literally influence your beliefs, habits, and even your earning potential. When you talk daily with someone who's building something, a business, a vision, a life, your brain begins to mirror their patterns. Their ambition becomes a mirror for your own possibilities. Millionaires curate their circle the way a gardener tends to soil. They know that what surrounds you will either drain your roots or help you grow taller. Here's something most people don't realize about the ultra-successful. They're obsessive learners, but rarely the loudest in the room. They don't feel the need to prove they're smart. They already know what they don't know. When they meet someone successful, they listen more than they speak. They ask, "What would you do differently if you could start over?" They take notes. They observe patterns. They study not just the wins, but the mistakes, because that's where the real gold lies. To them, every person is a potential mentor. A book, a podcast, a passing conversation, all are classrooms if you know how to listen. Millionaires don't chase connections. They build ecosystems. It's not transactional, it's relational. They invest time in friendships that compound over years. They share opportunities, ideas, introductions, because they understand something subtle. Value flows in circles. The more you give, the more you attract. And when your circle is full of people who lift others up, success stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like collaboration. Sometimes, though, growth requires distance. You can't always bring everyone with you. And that's hard, especially when the people holding you back are the ones you love. Many millionaires quietly go through a lonely season. They don't cut people off out of arrogance, but because they've realized they need different conversations. One's about vision, not just gossip. About the future, not just the past. It's not rejection. It's evolution. And if you stay long enough in the wrong room, you start forgetting what the right one feels like. Today, you don't need to know a billionaire to learn from one. YouTube, podcasts, and books have made proximity digital. Millionaires leverage this. They build their virtual rooms. Morning runs with an audiobook by Warren Buffett. Evening walks listening to Naval Ravikant or Oprah. They treat it as nourishment, mental nutrition for the mind. Because it's not just who you meet that shapes you, it's who you listen to. But there's something deeper at play, something emotional that data can't capture. When you're around people who think big, you start to believe that you can too. Their confidence leaks into your subconscious. Their calm during chaos becomes your template. Their clarity becomes your mirror. It's not imitation, it's transmission. Like catching a frequency you didn't know existed until someone tuned the dial. That's why millionaires protect their energy as fiercely as they protect their assets, because they know energy is currency too. Eventually, the student becomes the teacher. Millionaires who once sought guidance become mentors themselves. They pay it forward, not to look noble, but because they remember how much one conversation once changed everything. And in teaching others, they learn again, deeper this time. Success, it turns out, isn't a ladder. It's a network of hands, reaching up and pulling others along. If you zoom out, the pattern is clear. No one does it alone. Every great story of success is, at its core, a story of connection. It's the dinner table conversation that sparked an idea. The mentor who believed before the world did. The friend who said, "Keep going." Millionaires don't just build wealth, they build rooms. Rooms filled with people who think differently, dream boldly, and grow together. And maybe that's the real takeaway. Before you change your habits, change your environment. Because who you're around today is quietly writing the story of who you'll become tomorrow.
Part 6. Discipline and Perseverance. Some people call it luck. Others call it talent. But if you look closely, behind every self-made millionaire, there's something quieter, something less glamorous. It's not the moment they made it. It's the hundreds of moments they didn't quit. We love success stories, the headlines, the milestones, the breakthroughs, but we rarely see what happens between the lines. The early mornings, the long nights, the rejections, the silence before something finally works.
Discipline and perseverance, they're not shiny habits. They're invisible ones. And yet they're the thread that holds every success story together. Motivation feels good. It's loud, exciting, cinematic. But motivation fades. Discipline stays. Millionaires understand that the difference between average and extraordinary isn't how inspired you are. It's how consistent you can be when you're not. They don't wait for perfect conditions to start. They start. And the act of showing up, day after day when no one's watching, becomes their superpower. Every morning, the world's most successful people wake up to a choice: comfort or consistency. It's 5 a.m. The alarm rings. Most people hit snooze. The disciplined, they rise, not because it's easy, but because it's non-negotiable. That's the hidden truth. Discipline isn't about intensity. It's about identity. It's doing the right thing, especially when no one will notice. The gym before sunrise. The reading before work. The saving when you could spend. The small, unremarkable decisions that compound into something remarkable. Psychologists call it grit, a blend of passion and persistence. Millionaires live it. They understand that the road to mastery is brutally repetitive. Same process, same mistakes, same grind. But what separates them is how they interpret the pain. Failure isn't proof that they're wrong, it's data. Fatigue isn't a signal to stop, it's a signal to rest, then continue. They reframe the struggle as training. And the mind, over time, learns to find peace in the repetition. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a decade. Millionaires think in decades. They don't chase instant wins. They build systems that outlast motivation. When things go wrong, and they always do, discipline keeps them steady. While others react emotionally, they respond strategically. They've trained their patience like a muscle, and it buys them time, the most valuable currency of all. There's a stage in every journey that no one talks about: the middle. When the excitement has faded, the results are still invisible, and the only thing left is the work itself. That's where discipline is tested. That's where perseverance either breaks or blossoms. Millionaires don't escape the boring middle. They master it. They find rhythm in repetition, purpose in patience, because they know boring is where the magic hides. Ask any millionaire about their biggest lessons, and you'll hear stories not of success, but of resilience. The business that failed. The idea that didn't land. The investor who said no. Over and over, no. But perseverance turns no into not yet. They learn, adjust, try again. Because in their world, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the price of admission. Discipline isn't just about habits. It's emotional too. It's saying no when fear says yes. It's choosing calm when chaos feels easier. It's staying kind when the world gets loud. Millionaires manage emotions the way pilots manage turbulence. Steady hands, clear focus. They don't suppress their feelings. They simply don't let those feelings decide the course. Discipline is compound interest in human form. It multiplies quietly. A little progress every single day. You won't see it at first. No one will. But 6 months later, a year later, 10 years later, it becomes undeniable. That's when the world says they're lucky. But luck was just discipline in disguise. There's a moment, small, quiet, when perseverance pays off. The product launches. The investment grows. The door finally opens. And when it happens, millionaires don't celebrate the win itself. They celebrate the process that made it possible. Because they know this wasn't a single victory. It was thousands of choices stacked, one on top of another. With time, discipline becomes something softer. It stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like peace. When you've trained your mind long enough, routine stops being a cage. It becomes freedom. The freedom to create. The freedom to think clearly. The freedom to live without being controlled by impulse. Millionaires don't see discipline as restriction. They see it as clarity, a quiet knowing of what matters and what doesn't. Discipline and perseverance, they don't make headlines. They make legacies. In a world addicted to instant results, they remind us of the beauty of the slow burn. Because anyone can start. Few keep going. And few still keep going long enough to see the transformation unfold. In the end, success isn't built in leaps. It's built in steps. Small, deliberate, daily steps taken by those who decided to stay the course long after others gave up. And maybe that's the real definition of wealth. Not how fast you win, but how long you last.
Part 7. Long-term focus. At some point in every story of success, there comes a quiet realization. The race was never against others. It was always against time and how you choose to use it. Millionaires don't just think differently. They see time differently. While most people chase what's urgent, they pursue what's important. And that single shift from short-term reaction to long-term vision changes everything. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, the next notification, the next trend, the next win, long-term thinking almost feels outdated. But for millionaires, patience is the new power. They play the game everyone else has forgotten, the long one. They're not trying to win today. They're building something that will still matter 10 years from now. Every great fortune began with something invisible, a vision so far ahead that it felt impossible at first. The bookstore in a garage that became Amazon. The small dorm project that turned into Facebook. The idea scribbled on a napkin that became Tesla. None of it happened overnight, because long-term focus is not about speed, it's about direction. Millionaires map their goals like architects. They know what they're building, even when the foundation is still underground. Long-term thinkers understand a simple truth. Short-term pleasure often costs long-term peace. They say no, a lot. No to distractions, no to shortcuts, no to things that look good now but harm later. They trade the thrill of now for the freedom of later. And while others chase the next dopamine hit, they're busy planting seeds that will feed them for decades. Most people live by the clock, chasing deadlines, counting minutes. Millionaires live by the compass, chasing direction, counting meaning. They ask, where is this leading me? Not, how fast can I get there? Because speed without direction is chaos, and patience without purpose is just waiting. The magic lies in balance, moving with intention, not impulse. Every goal has seasons, the planting, the waiting, the harvest. Millionaires respect the seasons. They know that not every moment is meant for action. Some are meant for reflection, some for rest, and some for simply trusting the process.
They understand that growth is often silent, invisible until it's undeniable. And that's what makes them unshakable. They're not discouraged by slow results because they never expected it to be fast. Long-term focus isn't about working harder, it's about working longer, through distraction, through doubt, through discomfort. Every day the world throws noise at them, opportunities that look shiny, shortcuts that whisper, easier. But millionaires have trained their minds to stay on course. They don't chase every wave. They build the boat that can survive all of them. Focus to them is not rigidity, it's devotion, the quiet art of choosing what truly matters again and again. Most people fear time. They feel it slipping away. Millionaires partner with it. They invest, they build, they compound, because they know time isn't the enemy. Impatience is. They let time amplify their efforts. They understand that a small action, repeated consistently, becomes unstoppable when given enough time. And so they stopped rushing. They start trusting. Long-term focus isn't just logical, it's emotional. It takes strength to hold a vision that no one else can see, to keep believing when the results are years away, to wake up every day and give your best to something that still looks like nothing. That's the hidden courage of millionaires. Not in their confidence, but in their consistency. They endure boredom, uncertainty, even failure, not because they're fearless, but because they're faithful to the future they imagine. If you look back, really look, you'll see that every habit in this journey leads here. They read and learn every day to think bigger. They live below their means to create space for freedom. They invest early to let time multiply effort. They build multiple streams of income to stay resilient. They learn from the successful to model wisdom. They stay disciplined to endure the process. And through it all, they hold one steady belief. It's not about where you are today. It's about who you're becoming tomorrow. Long-term focus ties them all together. It turns habits into a life philosophy. In a culture that celebrates speed, millionaires are proof that greatness is still built in slow motion. They remind us that it's okay to take time, to build, to learn, to grow, to fail, to start again. Because the point isn't to finish first, it's to finish fulfilled. Long-term focus is the bridge between dreams and reality. It's what turns someday into inevitable. And when you finally arrive, you realize something beautiful. You never really arrived. You just evolved. Success, at its deepest level, isn't measured by what you achieve, but by what continues after you're gone. Millionaires don't just build wealth. They build systems, habits, and mindsets that outlive them. Because they know true success isn't what you can earn in a lifetime. It's what your lifetime can teach others to create. And that's the quiet truth behind it all. The richest people aren't those who rush through time, but those who learn to walk with it.
Success isn't a one-time event. It's a daily choice. Start small, stay consistent, and watch your life transform, one habit at a time. If you want more videos that fuel your growth and wealth journey, hit subscribe. Your millionaire mindset starts right here.